I'm 40 years old, and I have never lived in a country in peace. I was 3 years old when my father and other 100 people were killed when a guerrilla group called M19, M19, tried to take the Supreme Court of Colombia as a hostage, and the state army responded in a disproportionate way. In the early 90s, when I was growing up, my country faced the confrontation of two drug cartels. On those years, it was common to hear the bombs that exploded in the main cities, causing hundreds of innocent victims. During that time, at least 40 judges were killed every year. At the end of the 90s and the beginning of the 2000s, another guerrilla group, FARC-EP, had taken half of the country, half of the territory, and kidnapped for financial purpose at least 6,000 persons. Because of that, paramilitary groups were created, and they committed infamous massacres all over the country. In 2016, we signed a peace agreement between FARC, that at the moment was the biggest guerrilla group in the country, and the state, that made us believe that the war was ending. But sadly, today my country is again in a severe risk. New armed groups are gaining again the control of the territory, and the security of the civilian population is in danger. Through my life, I have seen how we change the name of the ones that produce the violence, how we hope we are going to achieve the ideal of a society that does not resolve their problems by killing each other. But at the end, it all starts all over again. It seems that we are condemned, like Garcia Marquez, our Colombian novel, once wrote, to 100 years of solitude, that famous book. Despite this horrible situation, let me explain to you why Colombia is not a failed state. Although it has been in a war for 60 years that has produced 10 million victims, Colombia has maintained a strong array of rule of law institutions. My country, despite all of this I have been telling you, has a strong legal system and particularly an independent judiciary. Indeed, we survived the 90s because the state, but especially the judges, did not bend to the money and violence of the drug dealers. Many died doing their job, but also defending our institutions and putting limits to the exercise of power. The judges have been working in very difficult circumstances, but their effort has allowed us to document what had happened during the armed conflict and try to create legal solutions to each crisis. We had applied different legal solutions, from broad amnesties that we gave in the 90s to different types of transitional justice proceedings, including reparation programs for the victims and truth commissions. Colombia has used the rule of law as a way of resistance to violence. Therefore, the country maintains, at this moment, certain stability and trust in their institutions, and that implies economic development, political participation, and the exercise of democracy. Currently, I'm one of the judges in this tribunal that was created after the peace agreement of 2016. And this tribunal was created to investigate and sanction the gross human rights violations and war crimes committed before the agreement. It is true that we have not found the solution yet, but I strongly believe that applying the rule of law gives us hope, and hope gives us the strength to keep fighting for the dream to have a different country. For example, the current president of my country, Gustavo Petro, is a former member of the guerrilla group M19, the group that I told you that was involved in the murder of my father. It took him 30 years since his demobilization, this word is always difficult for me, to win the presidency. That he is now in power is the living proof that violence was not the path. Only the completely respect of the rule of law will allow Colombia to achieve a long-lasting peace. Thank you very much.